formed a straggling column. Yin Lan Lan was first in line. She carried the Dadzi Bao, and Du Hai, carrying a brush and a bucket of paste, followed her. Behind them, 2 students struck a gong and beat a drum. "Let's go," Yin Lan Lan waved her arm vigorously, and the group marched off. I watched her with interest. Yin Lan Lan had changed a great deal. No longer hesitant and clumsy, she had become vocal, aggressive, and confident. She stood up straight and threw out her chest, whereas before she had always slouched. She and Du Hai had taken the leading roles in the movement. The usual leaders of the class, including me, were holding back for some reason. Yu Jian, chairman of the class and one of the best students, was somewhere in the middle of the line while I dawdled so I could be in the back of the group. I didn't want Aunt Shi Wen to see me. Although I did not approve of her, and although I supported today's revolutionary action, she was still my relative. But I dared not ask to switch to the other group. I would certainly be criticized for letting my family relationships interfere with my political principles. I had no choice but to go. Someone rang the bell. We waited in the narrow passageway outside the door, whispering among ourselves. Before long, Aunt Shi Wen came to the door. She was not wearing any makeup, and she looked older and less attractive than usual. She seemed taken aback at the sight of us. Her welcoming expression turned into one of nervous surprise. Du Hai took the lead. "Down with the bourgeois Jiang Shi Wen. Long live Mao Zedong thought," he shouted. We repeated the slogans. Then Yin Lan Lan recited, "Our great leader, Chairman Mao, has taught us, every reactionary is the same. If you do not hit him, he will not fall. This is also like sweeping the floor. As a rule, where the broom does not reach, the dust will not vanish by itself." Her voice was loud and forceful. "Today, we proletarian revolutionary young guards have come to revolt against you bourgeoisie. Jiang Shi Wen, this is our Dadzi Bao. You are to post it on your door now." She shook the white paper in front of Aunt Shi Wen's nose. Aunt Shi Wen tried to smile to show her support of the proletarian revolutionary young guards, but the smile froze before it was fully formed. It was hard to tell whether she was smiling or crying. Yes, I will," she said repeatedly. She took the paste and began to brush it on the door. I could see the brush quivering in her hand. It was an unusually hot and humid day, and with the 20 of us crowded into her entryway, it felt even hotter. Aunt Shi Wen gave the door a few more good swipes of paste before she stopped and wiped the sweat off her forehead. Then she took the Dadzi Bao and stuck it to the door, smoothing it out without hesitation in spite of the ink that blacked her hands. "Now, read it out loud," Yin Lan Lan shouted as soon as Aunt Shi Wen finished. Aunt Shi Wen had not expected this. She gaped at us in alarm. She did not want to read the terrible things written about her, but she did not dare refuse. Her face was ugly with distress. She knew that no one would challenge anything we revolutionaries did to her. I did not want her to see me. I bent down and pretended to tie my shoelaces, but I could not block out her voice, dry, hoarse, and trembling. Refusal to let students pick mulberry leaves was an attack on proletarian students. The more you try to improve your outward appearance, the filthier your heart becomes. Your black bourgeois bones are clearly visible to our proletarian eyes. Remold yourself conscientiously. I kept my eyes on my shoelaces and tried not to listen. "Hey, what's the matter with you?" Someone pushed me, and I realized that it was over. On the way back to school, everyone joked and laughed at Aunt Shi Wen's humiliation. "Jiang Ji Li, your aunt really lost face today, didn't she?" Du Hai shouted. I could feel every classmate staring at me. I raised my head and said loudly, "It serves her right." I made an effort to laugh and joke along with the others. "Look at that," someone said with surprise. I raised my head. The door of Grandpa Hong's bookstall had been sealed with several Dadzi Bao. It was too far away to read them. All I could make out were a few words from the titles of posters: propagating feudal, capitalistic, and revisionist ideals, poisoning our youth. My mind was full of all the stories I had read there. Now the stories were finished. They were part of the bad system that was going to destroy socialism. I shook my head hard as if to shake all the evil stories out of my mind. "Julie, come on. Come to school right now. Someone's written a Dadzi Bao about you. Come on, let's go." Annie dashed into our apartment, full of alarm. She dragged me to my feet and pulled me to the stairs. "Wait," I shook off her grasp. "Hold on, what did you say?" "Your name appeared in a Dadzi Bao." I could not believe it. "My name? Why? I'm not a teacher. Why would they write a Dadzi Bao about me?" I could feel my heart race. "I don't know, but I saw it with my own eyes. Du Hai and Yin Lan Lan and a couple of others were writing it. I couldn't read it, but I saw your name in the title." She wheezed heavily and looked at me wide-eyed. We hurried off to the school playground where the newest Dadzabao were posted and searched frantically. There it is! Suddenly I caught sight of it. The large red characters were like blood on the poster. Let's look at the relationship between Ke Chang Li and his favorite student, Jiang Ji Li. I suddenly felt dizzy. Relationship? Me? A relationship with a male teacher? The whole world faded before my eyes. The only thing I could see were the name Jiang Ji Li and the word relationship. A shaft of evening sunlight flashed on my name. The characters danced before my eyes, growing larger and redder, almost swallowing me up. Anne Yu was shaking me. Her eyes were full of tears and she was staring at me anxiously. I could not speak. I grabbed her arm and we ran out of the schoolyard. We stopped at the back door of a small cigarette shop nearby. Anne Yu tried to say something, but I wouldn't let her. We leaned against the wall for a long time without saying a word. Let's go home, Anne Yu touched me softly on the elbow. It was getting dark. You go ahead. I'm going to read the word Dadzabao stuck in my throat. Anne Yu nodded worriedly and left. A half moon brightened the sky, and the schoolyard was laced with the ghastly shadows of the parasol trees. I picked my way through the shadows and found the Dadzabao again. Now, under the cover of darkness, I could let myself cry. I wiped the tears away with my hand, but the more I wiped, the more they came. I pressed my handkerchief to my face. Finally, my eyes cleared enough to see. Ke Chang Li doesn't like working class kids. He only likes rich kids. He made Jiang Ji Li the teacher's assistant for math class and gave her higher grades. And he also let her win all the math contests and awarded her a lot of notebooks. We have to ask the question, what is the relationship between them after all? The blood rushed into my head. I felt like throwing up. I leaned against the wall and rested my head on it. A shadow approached. I tensed and got ready to run. The shadow called out, Julie, it's me. I came back. I was getting worried. Annie's voice made the tears gush out of my eyes again. Oh, Annie, how could they say these things? How could they say them? A relationship between Teacher Ke and me? It's all lies. My voice was hoarse. It's so unfair. I have never gotten 1 point, not a single point that I didn't deserve. And I spent so much time helping Yinlan Lan and the others with their arithmetic, and now they go and insult me like this. It's disgusting. I could not go on. I bit my handkerchief to hold back my sobs. Anne Yi kept silent for a while. She walked beside me with her hand tightly clasping my shoulder. There were a lot of dots about my mom, too, she said at last in a soft voice. They said she was a monster and a class enemy. I stopped. I was afraid to look at her. Her hand squeezed my shoulder, and I felt her sobbing quietly. We stood together like that for a long time, in the darkness and the silence.